great typewriters in the shop, including some rather rare pieces like this 1896 Williams Model 1. And that is actually the machine that I'm going to take a look at today, because I have a bottle of ink. Now this is probably one of the rarer models of Williams, not the rarest. That would be the 1891 curved keyboard Williams. But this one is definitely difficult to come by of its own right. A wonderfully unique machine. It's one of the grasshopper type machines which sought to solve the problem of visible typewriting by typing from both the front and the back of the page. Now this machine has been completely cleaned and serviced. Though it still shows some sign of age, it is working very well. A very hard part of these machines to come by is the ink wells, which helps deliver the ink to the keys. This is not a traditional ribbon typewriter, so instead each key rests in a small ink well. Now the ones for this machine were missing, so another collector in the typewriter community was able to custom fabricate these wonderful little ink wells. And I normally don't use foam padding. I have special inkwell pads, but these ones fit so nicely that I think I'm just going to give them a try and see how well they work. So I'm using a very basic bottle of purple ink. I'll grab a rag just in case I spill anything. And this ink is almost out, so hopefully there's enough to kind of get some typing done on this. And of course the technique that I use is just to kind of smear it around on the surface of the pad and just kind of let it soak in. Shouldn't need too much ink, and I want to avoid getting it all over my hands and the outside of the pads, but you know, I'm not great at doing that. Which is why I have a rag. So I'm going to let the ink permeate these pads for just a moment before installing them back on the machine. And maybe I'll bring the camera around to this side so you can better see what I'm doing. Yeah, I'll acknowledge that the lighting is not great, but here we have the ink pad, and the ink is slowly soaking in. So let's come over to this side of the machine. Installing the ink pads, it's not too tricky. There is a technique. So we're going to want to carry the ink pads between two fingers like this. So we'll stick one finger under that side, let's move that out of the way, and hold it with the end of our fingers. And we're just going to gently lift the pad up and get those two little hooks onto the posts where it hangs. And as you can see, I already got tons of ink on my hands, which was not exactly what I wanted to happen. And we'll just get down there and do the second one. There we go. Now the way that I like to load these machines is take a piece of paper and stick it in front of the platen and behind the main feed roller, and then we'll just advance it a few lines so it hangs on in there. Then we are going to lift the bail rail with the line scale attached, and as you can see the type guide raises with it, and you just curve the paper in there and tuck it down. And you can feed it below through the paper holders down there and clamp it closed. Now if you notice on my machine, if your paper is, get the camera set up, kind of dangling out at the edge there, we can go ahead, take that page out and move it over a little bit so it is in line with the number of guides. Make sure you can see without me being in the way. And yeah, I got a lot of ink on there because my ink pads got caught under one of the little paper guides, but that's okay. Then we return the carriage and we are ready to start typing. Okay, I'm going to go ahead and say that the ink is a little bit too wet. See that? That's just a little bit too wet. The only letter that really came through was the J, and it is splashing ink everywhere. So I think it's time to grab a little paper towel and blot off the ink. And that's one of the things about these machines. Inking them can be a balance. What to do with these machines is gently push all of the type bars on one fan completely up, and then smash it down on a paper towel that'll hopefully soak up any extreme excess of ink, and then carefully remove it. And as you can see, there's a lot of ink on that side, and we've also cleaned up the type on the other side. There we go. And smush all my letters down. We will return the carriage to a clean part of the paper and try again. Okay, let's take this off the tripod. Looks like this time we are a little bit light on ink, but at least it is legible. Not too shabby. Gonna try and get the ink to flow a little bit more on the keys, so we're just going to push down on the top of them and just wiggle them back and forth in the ink pads, and then try again. And that is looking a bit better. Of course, our O is out of alignment. Several letters are. This machine is 130 years old. The only way to really fix that is to resolder the type slugs, which on a machine of this age is a significant risk. Most people aren't going to be typing on this. So on my computer up here, we're copying stuff off of the camera because I ran out of storage space on the SD card. So before I started filming the video on inking the Williams, I forgot to, format the card. And did my computer just turn off? No. What happened? What did I do? I don't even know what's going on. So we're just gonna transfer, let it sit, and then get back to it. Yeah, it still says about an hour and 25 minutes remaining, so I think I'll just let this sit here for today and get back onto some more pressing projects. Although, as I was saying about the Williams, it is well suited for letter writing and to add some antique character because this machine is well over 100 years old. But that's about the best it can do. It actually has worse alignment than one of these machines, which is saying something. But yeah, I have seen Williams typewriters with far, far better print quality. In fact, so let me pull out a type sample from an 1891 Williams Model 1 curved keyboard, the very first Williams in production. And you can see that's pretty nice. Actually, I think this is my 1895 Williams one, so let's go back a little bit. Williams 3, this is what it was typing like when I had a good ink pad system. You can see the O is still a bit high up. And then the Williams 1 Ideal, which is, of course, printing like an almost perfect machine. So these machines were definitely capable of printing very nice. It's just that time hasn't been very kind to them. And that's okay. They're old machines. They deserve a break. I think the big issue I'm going to have with this one now is that the ink pad medium is not functioning properly. But I believe... There we go. This is what I was using for the ink pads previously. Let's see. Okay, and I still have a little bit left of this one. These things have a fabric coating on the top, and that allows the ink to more evenly distribute onto the face of the slug, whereas they sit down into the foam and get way too much ink on them. A stamp pad that's specifically made for stamps, for fine detail, is a much better option. Let's see, these might have been cut for Williams, but they're kind of dirty. Some alcohol could clean those up, and I can reinstall those and see if that gives me some better print quality. Okay, so I have not put in the fabric coated ink pads because these are really crusty and I'm not sure they'll work. As you can see, when the ink is properly inked and properly delivering to the machine, it prints very nicely. It's very difficult to get the letters to pick up ink evenly, especially from an ink pad that is very uneven. An issue as well with the S just picking up way too much ink, and if I don't let it grab more ink, you can see that the slug itself is okay. It's just a little bit too shallow, so it likes to suck up a lot of ink, and the D is not quite getting enough. The Q is not getting very much either. It's all about trial and error. I mean, it is a very fast and responsive machine, which is surprising for its age. Oh, looks like we had a jam. But yeah, you know, it's one of those machines that needs a lot of fiddling with, but sometimes you just gotta be okay with poor type. These machines do degrade over time just by nature of those keys sitting on wet ink pads for multiple decades. So when I store these machines, I don't store the ink pads with them.